Oi, we are back with another video, but our videos are very enlightening, right? We post about realities on the ground, realities wherever you are, echelons, highest of the highest, right? We do not care. We go through all, we put out the reality that people need to know about. At least if you know about something, if you don't do anything about it, it's up to you, but at least you know, right? You don't come and being misinformed and at the end of the day take wrong decisions. No, we get people to be informed so that at the end of the day there's right decision based on information available. As I said, when you are doing things, research. Have a research, time frame. Research your things, understand what is happening, how do they actually, affect your daily life, right? Like our government is affecting us like nobody's business, right? Because of lack of understanding. Yeah. What is the topic today? The topic is about infrastructure development throughout the whole of South Africa, right? We are talking about infrastructure. I'm broadly saying so because I'm going to include, like, let's say, construction, include industrialization, include a lot of all spheres as far as infrastructure development is concerned, because it's not like on one side that you can say construction is, yes, though construction is the base point, but there are a lot of things that forms infrastructure development, right? So what happened? um, I believe somehow there was a lot of maybe information as far as um, Ramaphosa is concerned. His advisors did not advise him well. He did not understood how things work. I do not understand because this guy was a deputy president. I do not know what this deputy president job is all about. Maybe it's just all about a position, because if this guy was in reality an active deputy president, he would have understood a lot of things. And those are the things that he would have changed when coming into power, right? He would have made them good, right? But he didn't. He made them worse, right? So we go into what happened, right? Let's first start with the construction industry. Previously, before the 2010 World Cup, right? The construction industry was booming. I'm telling you, I remember I did some works with some guys. They didn't even take jobs less than 20 million rand. Right? They took jobs above, that threshold, right? And it was quite an amazing aspect because at that time people were forced to work. Can you understand? And the reason why being that um, like infrastructure development is a big thing, right? And I want to go into detail as far as, like, let's say we'll just take the construction industry because it's a base point, right? So what is happening in the construction industry? Construction industry is composed of a lot of, like, you can call them DNAs, mini DNA particles that forms what the construction industry, right? Um, if let's say we say, okay, there it's a tender, right? Um, what does a tender comprises of? A tender comprises of, like, let's say, the BOQ, all the uh, regulations to be followed and all the aspects that needs to be adhered to, right? So now you look at it, we say, okay, let me just take a simple one. I'll take just the road construction, right? Uh, in road construction, you got a lot of components that you need. You got cement that you need. You got material, which is mainly like your soils. You got a G7, G5, G2, G1, whatever the G might be, right? You got paint, right, that is needed. You got bitumen that is needed. You got a yellow plant that is needed. You got the trucks, or the tipper trucks, you might call them, right? So you can understand that I've already pointed out almost around 9 or so needed ingredients, if you may call them, right? So for you to can construct that road, you need those, and also you need human beings who have got knowledge. It might be a surveyor, it might be a site agent, it might be an engineer, it might be whatever you need, like, right? And also you need environmental. Look, there are a lot of components that you need in order for you to get the road to be constructed, to get the road to be going. Like, besides the design aspects of it, but you need a lot of things that you need to put into place in order for you to get the road going. So now, killing that type of a, I can say, money-making machine, in actual fact, you are killing your GDP, because the GDP of the country is based mainly on the growth, right? What is the growth of the country, right? If the growth of the country is not projected rightly, like we have in South Africa, 0.3, right, percentage growth, you see, what is the reasoning for that? Is because the infrastructure development is lagging behind, right? Is because the roads that are supposed to be constructed, which will help the trucks to move faster and quicker and safe, they are not being constructed. The trucks have to move on gravel roads. If they move on tarred road or bitumen surfaced roads, there are potholes, right? There are people who are putting spikes on those type of things that hampers what progress, right? Progressiveness, right? That's the word I was looking for. So now, when you hamper progress, right, you are blocking somebody's job, because that progress might have helped to get somebody employed, right? Because if the companies are making more monies, definitely they will want to expand, right? Besides, I mean, our black brothers who take money to Dubai for nonsensical reasons whatsoever. But in reality, if the company, if a person is a strategic individual, right, when they have what? The growth in the company, they look to expand. And that expansion is talking about more about employment, right? They employ more people because you want to expand, right? Yes, though the year of the robotics is coming, but in actual fact, it's still a way far, right? 30 years or so in the game, right? So for now, we need to work with what we have, which is what? Which is we human, right? So killing the infrastructure development kills about the GDP, kills about the growth of the country. And that's what Ramaphosa did. When he came in power, he started fighting against those people who were ahead with whatever they were doing, right? These people, they started way back post 94, right? They started doing whatever they were doing, and at the end of the day, they get the ability and understanding on that they've got the knowledge. But at the end of the day, Ramaphosa starts fighting with them. That's why everything went down, right? Instead of upward trajectory, we saw a downward trajectory. And the reason being that the construction industry was like invaded by species. there was there was an invasion, what they call it, of wrong species, and that species is the entrepreneurs and the BEEs, right? So they invaded that part of the growth strategic point, right? And when they invaded it, remember, we had a lot of big companies, though, yes, these companies were mainly owned by the previous individuals from the previous governments of apartheid. But at the end of the day, those companies were doing good, and they were employing a lot of people. That's where it matters most, right? You had companies like WBH or Marion Roberts, Greenegger LTA, Group 5, and all that. Most of these companies are no more existing, right? Group 5 is gone. Can you imagine how many people did the Group 5 employed? Almost around 35,000 or so. Can you imagine in that aspect, those 35,000 people are no longer employed, right? So now you have these smaller guys who are having their construction companies like Abu Manman and Abu Malema and Abu Ratanang or whatever stuff that they have, right? How many people do they employ? And remember, construction is a seasonal type of, a job, right? It's a seasonal work. It's not like it's all throughout. No, it's a pet project. You go into a project, you execute that project, you don't have anything to do. And those big companies were supposed to be supported by the government, but the government saw to it that, oh, we need new guys. Yes, you need new guys, but you need to be very strategic. There needs to be big projects which align with the value of those big construction companies to keep them afloat. There is that thing of saying too big to be what? To fail. Yes, too big to fail. These construction companies are too big to fail. Why? Because when you employ 35,000 people, it's not all about Malema. It's not all about, no, it's about, the survival of those families. Those people, they are able to take their kids to school, they are able to feed their families, they are able to earn a living, right? Can we understand that, right? At the end of the day, when you earn a living, you are able to can live a better life, no matter what. Even if I'm getting that 12,500, it's fine. At least I'm getting a better life than nothing, right? If I'm getting nothing, who's giving me a better life? Malema, no ways, right? So now you had those construction industry, construction companies, which were broken into pieces. You got this, the tenderpreneur, the species, the alien species. What happens? Okay, you give Malema tender for how much? Let's say for 50 million rand. What does Malema do? Malema hire one guy, hire a temporary, one guy hire, then from there they work, they finish the work, then those guys are booted out. They will never work anymore. They will never work. Why? Because for them to work is if Malema gets another tender. If Malema does not get another tender, they will never work. But in those big construction companies, not like that. They will always call their people to come and work, always call their people to come and do something. So now we have a situation where these big companies are no longer functional, right? And this trend has happened throughout the whole of Africa, that remember those construction material, they're very expensive. The machinery is very expensive. So now, most of the African countries, they have to get those from South Africa. Can you imagine how bad it is? Big countries, Angola, whatever, for them to build a big building, they have to get the equipment from South Africa. They have to get, companies from South Africa or companies from outside somewhere in the world, right? Why? Because they've killed those industries that were keeping the countries alive, right? Were keeping the countries going. Can you imagine if you employ 35,000 people? At least, what I say about Umchana Malema? I said, if you can employ 1,000 people, pay them like 15,000 each and every month, 1,000. That's how much? That's 15 million rands, right? A year, it's sizable. It's more than 150 million rand, right? So now, at least, then we can say China is doing something. Then that's when one can talk about, yeah, we can nationalize this, we can nationalize that. I'm not against nationalism or nationalizing whatever. No, but I'm against the way that these people are insinuating that they're going to do it. They've got no idea whatsoever how to do it. Forget it. They do not have any idea on how to implement that, right? So now, okay, you have like a development mandate, right? How to develop South Africa. Like I said, the apartheid government was stupid. It might have been clever in other ways or forms, but in reality, when I look, the reason is because I've traveled the whole of South Africa. And I've checked, I've said, but these people, they were moronic because the monies they have stolen, they could have taken the monies and built highways, right? Mainly highways from Johannesburg. Yes, you got what they did with the N1 from Polokwane to Johannesburg, which is good, right? But now you have N1 from Johannesburg to Cape Town. There was supposed to be a road from here to sort of like Tabazimbi also, right? Tabazimbi, yeah, sort of something like that, like Northwest. Anyway, there is an N4, but there was supposed to be a road from Johannesburg all the way to, let's say, Katu, if anybody of you know Katu in the Northern Cape. So they needed to be those roads that will help to do what? To move the economy of South Africa forward. Because there is that analogy, build it and they will come. Look what Dubai has done. In 20 years' time, they've built it. Every nonsensical person is going to Dubai to spend their thousands and thousands of stolen monies, right? So if we build it here, wouldn't everybody come? South Africa is a very strategic country. It's a bridge to the world and bridge to Africa, of which if you build something like Dubai here, everybody will come, right? That does make sense, right? That is infrastructure development. Can you imagine if that type of a city was initiated? And man, come on, man. That will be a game changer altogether. But at the end of the day, you got moronic individuals standing in the front, fighting for nothing, doing nothing. As long as they sit where there is an aircon and driving a good car with an aircon inside, everything with an aircon. Can you imagine? So that is moronic and stupidity. Look at what America is doing. Look at what China is doing. If you look at the strategic analysis of China, right? China, in 20 years' time, they've managed to lift themselves from the opiate, right? Opiate country to a very strategic IT, AI, and all these tech, right? Systems, right? They are very strategic in that. And how did they manage to get it? They employed hackers. they use Kali Linux, yeah, the older version of it, right? And they hacked into American systems to understand how are the Americans doing it. So now we need to hack in China. I don't know if it's possible. We need to hack into the Chinese systems and understand how they are doing it. We need to have infrastructure development in South Africa. And infrastructure, not just only looking at construction, but looking at industrialization, looking at what? Mining, looking at tunneling, there are a lot of things that can be implemented, which those things will result into helping our youth to have employment. But if those things are not done, we will always remain South Africa. A cocoa nation with a cocoa idea mentality, where unequalness is the topic of every day, right? Yeah, we are unequal, but what are we doing about it? Nothing, right? So now you have water infrastructures, you have buildings, you have that. Those form part and parcel of infrastructure development. If one part of the infrastructure development is happening, it fosters all those aspects to, start having development as such, right? Like if I've taken like the road, now we can take the buildings. What is it required in buildings? Oh man, that is a game changer on its own. Just to have one building constructed, you would have helped thousands and thousands of families. Why? Because just one building, it requires concrete, it requires crusher run, it requires water, it requires electricity, it requires air conditioning, it requires, tiling, it requires grouting, it requires, look, there are many things that are required there just for one building to happen. Can you imagine? You require steel, right? You require reinforcement, you require glass, you require a lot of things. So now killing that type of an industry is actually killing the GDP of the country. It's actually killing so Ramaphosa, when he came in, he did that. And that's why we found that many people do not have work. Many people suffer. Why? Because we were mainly depending on what has happened prior to 2010, right? Because many of us, we had a lot to do. Like, if I might say, for me, I don't want to boast or whatsoever, but 300 to 800 million worth of project in a year, it was possible for people like me, right? But at the end of the day, when you get to a point where you can't, your hands are holded up, you can't even get one project. You wonder, who's getting all this project? You go, you find that there is a moron species from wherever it comes from, because anyway, it knows the Joe in the government, it gets the contract, but they don't know what to do, right? There's a lot which is required, right, to do these projects. There is a lot of intel, a lot of information, a lot of knowledge, a lot of capable individuals who are needed. But at the end of the day, when the government gets to be in a position to kill that type of an industry, you are killing. South Africa cannot only depend on mining. South Africa is a big country to fail, right? So it means to say diversity is the name that we need to foster, we need to run after, right? So at the end of the day, when you diversify, at least you get a lot of people employed in different sections of this diversity, right? And at the end of the day, you are growing the economy of the country. Unlike fighting with people, you don't get into government and start fighting with people. You don't get in government and think that you can create employment for people in government. It's a lie. It's all a lie. Where people are saying that, no, it's a lie. Government does not employ people. But a proper atmosphere to let the private companies thrive. I asked her by the time of Zuma. That's why now when MK, I look at it, I said, but anyway, Zuma has learned. I asked her at that time, I said, but okay, Zuma is in power. Now we have the ANC, we have the DA. The DA is being funded by people who owns Checkers, the people who owns Pick and Pay. Where is the black companies, right, that says, okay, I own Boxer or I own Pick and Pay, I own from a black child? Where is it? That can say, okay, the ANC says, oh, we are getting funding from that guy. Where is industries that are making phones from a black child? Yes, they are there, but the government is not doing anything. The IDE, whatever they call it, industrial development, whatever, it's not doing much for our black people, right? It definitely is not doing much, right? You got this development bank. It's not doing much for our people. Most of you get there, who are they funding? They're funding white-owned companies or the peach-owned companies. At the end of the day, you expect it to be better than Group 5. You expect to be better than WHO. You expect to... How? How is it possible for a black child to grow, a black child to do it? No, it's not possible at all. That's why the dependency is on these foolish private guys who are white, and at the end of the day, we are not getting anywhere as a country. Why? Because the majority of our people are not employed. The majority of our people are not working. The GDP will never grow. If you got 60% youth unemployment rate, that's nonsensical. Something has to be done about that. The useless government needs to come out, right? We need to have a proper government. You have the G20 here, right? It's going to be coming here in this next year, November. The youth needs to have their voices, right? They need to have their voices heard. They need to put out their voices. But we are tired of this nonsensical behavioral pattern of these people because, come on, a minister of youth is an old magogo, the gogo, the dead gogo. Come on, that's the dead soul, come on. People, no, that's not right. It's very wrong. From the gogo, yes, you can go there to get, all the wiseness or, the things of old and everything good, right? But not for Magogo to lead. That's wrong, right? Magogo needs to teach children how to lead, not Magogo being in the lead. No, that does not work. It's not right. So, people, that's the more or less about the infrastructure development, right? About the construction industry, about, there are a lot of things that can be done within the context of infrastructure development, right? You got the power stations, which are supposed to give us power, which get to be redundant because somebody put a stupid environmental law that they are emitting this nonsense. But he's having electricity. Take out that electricity from that person. And if he wants solar, no. Where they are producing those solars, they are emitting nonsense. Take out those solars. Let's see how they survive, right? These environmental people, they are talking nonsense all the time. And they're the ones who are hampering development in our country. You go to these municipalities, as I say, 6 months, that's the shortest time to get environmental approval. 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. What is happening in that interim? I say the money is being stolen. Marcela, the thieves, they're stealing the money at that interim, right? At the end of the day, we do not have any, projects that were supposed to be developed. We don't have any skills transfer. Nothing is happening. Why? Because of these environmentals. Because many people forget about these morons. The environmentals are moronic, morons whatsoever. I'll take away that. I tell you, I'll do away with the environment. I tell you the truth. Not to say one should not care for the environment. Yes, it's an aspect that needs to be fostered, but at the end of the day, fostered properly. Not to take whatever the Americans are saying and bring it and try to implement here. Not to say take whatever the Europeans are saying. Yeah, Europe is development. Come on, UK is the same size as the or whatever the Kruger National Park. Probably is even bigger than the UK. But at the end of the day, you want to implement what is in the UK here. That's nonsensical. That's stupid. That's stupidity whatsoever, I'm telling you, right? So this environmental thing is so nonsensical that I do not understand why everybody is talking about it, why everybody is following it. Man, I've worked in Bumalanga. I've seen, yes, in the morning when I get there, because I used to leave at 4 o'clock. I get there at around 5 or so. Then it's clouded with the mist of those smokes from there. But at the end of the day, man, we are eating mealies from we are surviving. We are strong. But you gonna tell me that, come on, there can be implementation as far as the emission process is concerned. There are ways that can be done, but do not say we kill the coal power stations. What for? What for? Look what it has done for against our country. Power shading, load shading, blackouts, whatever you might call it, all over, all throughout. But at the end of the day, there is a need for understanding when as far as implementation is concerned, there is a need for understanding. But you can see these morons, they do not understand anything. And we keep on putting, you don't understand why. But anyway, guys, that is as far as infrastructure development is concerned. I do not want to keep this video long. Right, that is one of my, I can say, most understandable concepts, right? I've been in that industry for long to understand a lot about it, right? But anyway, oi, you see me in the mask, you think you are better than me. It's fine. Keep on being better, right? One day we will meet. And you will show me how better you are, right? Oi. See you on the next video, guys. Stay cool and collected. Yeah.